Alright guys, dragging myself away from listening to Pliny Electric Sunrise to do another bonus episode of the LP. Last time we were battling with a giant dragon, and well, this time we're going to be doing something similar. So just to be clear to you all, there are a lot of metas around Guild Wars 2 and Tyria that spawn many different kinds of bosses. Sometimes it's as low as a veteran. Often it will be a champion creature designed for groups to kill. But there are actually tiers above champion, okay? You may also find legendary things that spawn from meta events. And those would be quite special encounters. But beyond even that, you have the idea of an epic encounter, and that epic designation is very special and very rare. You saw one of the very few epic creatures over in Blaze Ridge. We're going to see another one of them, and then they're all connected to dragon minions, for what it's worth, over here in Sparkfly Fen. It is my aim throughout this series to show off at least some aspect of each of the epic ones as we go through. And well, this is the next on the list. Pretty special encounter too, as it is to do with the head honcho, the main villain of the launch of the game, Zhaitan. So, first of all, just before we do that, there were some little things that I glossed over in Sparkfly Fen that I want to touch on. Just as before, the Beast of the Sky, the Shatterer over in Asula, while Bract here is in Sparkfly, it's not always under assault from this dragon. It's only battleable at very specific times of the day when the meta flares up. So we've got a little while to relax, sort of, for now, but I do want to show you some other things. First of all, the Ash Horizon. So Bract's quest at the moment is actually to deal with a ship much like this one, but in a very different area of the world. Zhaitan obviously has some faith in the people of the Vigil who should be taking the Ash Horizon out. And this is the Ash Horizon meta, the other big meta on this map if we exclude the hylek stuff, which really are more small cells of dynamic events. But yeah, you can retake the Vigil's base camp, and this is what it looks like when it's actually fallen to the undead who are just rampaging around, destroying all of the siege. The idea is we, as players, should actually get on these trebs and blow up the ship, and other players should defend us while we're on them. And that general, very specific idea of siege and counter-siege and defense of counter-siege is at play in a lot of areas of Tyria, but sadly, you don't really see it come through much. Luckily, the big meta against the epic boss on this video in a moment does actually deal with it in a very, very cool way. One of the rare places where it still is at play in a large way. That mess with some camera settings. So there is the Ash Horizon. I could capture this and we could siege it and we could try and sink it. It would take me a long time to do on my own. But the other cool thing, of course, is Fort Cadence itself. These old human, presumably, ruins that are infested with undead. Now, Bract does actually have to be quite careful as he travels through here. So we're going to drink Elixir U to stun break, and we're going to hold the shield 4 to reflect. You see that hylek that was trying to shoot us there? And we can save ourselves of that. I don't really care about the pressure. We can also use the shield 5 to defend ourselves from any more CCs, and we can mower these guys as they charge us. Oh god, the mowers are doing a lot of damage. We might be out of our depth here. This is really bad. I don't know what I'm going to do here. I can't reflect. I guess we'll keep running. We can drink Elixir X to become a tornado as well. A juggernaut is what I was hoping. More isn't. You can just see how dangerous this place is while the meta event is up. Believe it or not, this entire area, here we'll start reflecting again, this entire area can end up being safe once you've done all the events and this meta is actually clear. You'll find, you see a hint of a camp there for the Vigil. You'll find allied NPCs all around this place. What I'm really trying to do, though, we'll grab the waypoint over there, which I'm sure is contested, is show you the inside of the fort just a little. So here you go, Fort Cadence waypoint. If you play a lot of the Halloween content, you will find yourself coming in here. Look, there was even a player around. A necromancer with a million minions who probably wasn't even too concerned about being here. But you'll notice straight away, inside the Shattered Keep, we find still undead, but not risen. Again, not risen, we find ghostly things. So there are actually ghost pirates in here. The quickest way to the bottom of the fort is straight down this tunnel here. And we'll go down there in a second. But I do want to note that there's actually a lot of stuff around. There's this giant room. You could easily fall to your death with poor footing here. You can drop around. There's a chest here. One of the guild missions requires you to come to one of these platforms. But in general, a lot of players miss all of that, and they just come down the staircase here. This would be your way of walking out, for what it's worth. But yeah, as we come down into this really cool, essentially mini dungeon, right? It's not unfair for me to call it this. You will find a ghost-inhabited bottom floor that is flooded with a little cheeky hero point. Check it out, loads of ghosts that seem to defend themselves at least reasonably well from the Risen. I will actually fight these ones because I don't want to get swarmed. The Risen above kind of scared me a bit there. And there'll be higher level ones that we're dealing with tech later. Here, and you can come all the way along.
Did you bring my whiskey swab?
It's Spooky Luca the Disbeliever. Pirates? Where? I ain't seen no pirates. Okay, you got me. You want to be a pirate too? You're going to have to experience pirate fighting techniques. You want to go around? You bet. So, I think...
Not bad. After you're dead, come be a pirate with us. We'll fight off these Risen pretenders together.
So yeah, listen to that. They actually talk about how they've been fighting against the Risen. I love that kind of ghost versus Risen aspect of the story. And the idea, once again, that pirates can be more of a chaotic neutral force than just evil bad guys all the time. There's more ghosty stuff over in that corner. But yeah, that's Fort Cadence. I wanted to show you that. I also want to show you some of the stuff over on this coast. There is another entrance to Bloodtide, would you believe it? But we're going to have to travel there past the Ash Horizon. In fact, let's just go north from Forvars, which is where we'd been before. So a little update as well on one of the other videos I did recently. I know this is a bonus, so you might not know quite where it sits in with the rest of the series. If you're watching the playlist on the channel, that should make sense. But recently we went to Mount Maelstrom and Bract found the ruins of an other Asuran civilization that seems to have come to the surface, nuked themselves or done something ridiculous and fallen away again, and we were sort of left to ponder their mysteries. The name of their place was Ratapaten, right? So that word Paten, Wiki actually lists as Romanian, or close to Romanian, which is almost near a word for like to rot or to fall away. So it's a kind of a cool word actually, I think, to describe the idea that this was a city that has now since fallen to rot and, you know, is no longer established. But yeah, so north here on Sparkfly, couple of cool things. First of all, over here on the left, you'll notice on the minimap we had another situation like I pointed out with Harathi Hinterlands quite a while ago now. This is one of the core Tyrian maps that quite clearly shows a road that goes through here and then all the way along here. Look at this very clear, well-established road, presumably with some kind of portal, okay? And you see this the second you unlock Karen's Passage, all right? Presumably this being the passage itself. And check it out. This would give us access to more of the Sea of Sorrows. Now, you'll notice that there's a level 80 map here. Back at release, this did not exist, okay? This map was not here. So it seems that in development, the devs were planning on having some kind of map out here. And I think it would make sense, especially if it's kind of the same size as Sparkfly. It could have come along like this. We know through sneaky data mining and stuff that they had a map that was designed for up here that never got implemented. It definitely seems that this was on the chops for them. And then they didn't do it in the end. If you actually look in-game, though the map art is all still there, there's this big wall here. And this is actually just one single massive boulder that an environment artist has slapped down here to prevent your travel. You can even see little hints of it, obviously, on the mini-map here now as well. So it's just blocked off. When we get to some of the later expansions, we'll be able to ride magnificent and wonderful beasts that allow us to climb around and all this stuff. And you can very easily look on the other side and just see how arbitrarily this was dropped down. Bract here at the release of the game obviously can do no such thing, and there's quite a lot of immersion, and it feels like a natural thing. But yeah, another hint at a map that was never added. Funnily enough, though, the very first map to get added after the game release was this one. And we won't talk about what it is or anything that goes on here. That will be stories for another day. But what's interesting is that when they added this, they didn't add a connection back here to the Caledon Forest, of which we've seen. And there was no, like, road, admittedly, at Caledon Forest. But they didn't even take the time to add this little bit and add this connection as a realistic thing. They added no real connection at all, except another mechanism, which we'll talk about later. So, really weird. I mean, maybe the crunch or adding a map post-release got to them a bit, and they didn't do these kind of basic, intelligent things to make the world feel cohesive, which has always disappointed me. Now that this exists, the odd of us getting a map in the middle is, like, a lot thinner, I think. But hey, so maybe one day we'll be able to travel through here. I always like pointing these out. On this series, you will see every weird little moment like this. Because, hey, one day there might be an update that drops that rock. I think that's pretty low on the list, though. Okay, so you got that. Then another cool landmark just slightly to the north, too, that I want to show at Sparkfly is this tower here. Now, last time we were here, we realized that a lot of the ruins we were finding and a lot of the hero challenges and things were hinting at haunted, old, ancient locations that were built by the Orrians. Like, it's actual Orrian civilization, architecture, pushing out before then it fell as the nation was ripped asunder. Well, here's another one. This is an Orrian tower. A very special place for me. It's called the Tower of Modius. And why it's special for me is because, as I mentioned, Sparkfly Fen was one of the earliest places to be shown to the community, to the public. One of the early demo conventions gave us access to this. And one of the first videos I ever saw of Sparkfly was somebody doing a dynamic event that triggers from the north of here, and we'll get traveling, where you escort some Vigil to this tower and they try to destroy it. But when they destroy it, it summons a lich, an Orrian lich, that is the big boss of the event. You clear him out and then everybody's happy. But in the early demo conventions, the lich just kind of patrolled that tower and was wandering around. And there's kind of a jumping puzzle you can do nearby to climb the tower. And I saw some footage of... Oh, I can't even remember what it was. I think one of the races became available to play on that demo that wasn't before, or one of the classes was. And they were, in this video, they were at that tower fighting that lich with no event in sight as far as I remember. And yeah, that was my first view of Sparkfly. The way you get there is actually by going through those caves over there on the left, for what it's worth, where there's more hylek. You see these risen hylek over here. Poor Brack, his heart must go out whenever he sees this. This is just another story similar to, you know, what he experienced in Bloodtide. Also, that totem at the back is really creepy.
Don't these undead ever give up?
Here you go. So, these are the Vigil, and they're going to the Tower of Modius. I'm not going to do this whole event, and I'm going to be really careful of him. Wow, their range is insane. I'm not going to do that horror event, but yeah, the Vigil here do patrol down, and they're going to try and get that lich down. Hopefully they do well. Without any players escorting them, I think they will struggle, to be honest. But we're going to go even further north to Orvar's Glen. Now, over there on the left is back up towards Bloodtide. We don't have to worry about too much. But here is another packed base. And again, I find it... Oh, I don't know. Could we just call this... I love the charm, man. Can we call this a pack base, or maybe it's just Vigil? Maybe...
Still clear.
The Vigil are in need of assistance. Lend your support.
Yeah, I know. We just saw them out there. But yeah, you do get another base here where people can talk about some vaguely interesting things.
Knowledge is illusion.
Here to help us re-dead the undead, make sure you have your stomping boots on. There are some nasty risen beasts shambling around out here. We must end the unending, we say, as a member of the Order of Whispers. So the Whispers have infiltrated the Vigil as well, guys. You will see them everywhere. He says we must also initiate the uninitiated. Act natural, but speak softly. Don't want the Vigil to know the Order of Whispers is spying on them. Though I'm sure they guess. You got any information for me? If I were you, I'd steer clear of the Tequatl Dead Grounds. It was a hylek village, but has become completely overrun with the undead. Sounds like a challenge. It would be a challenge to Bract as a member of the Order of Whispers who cared about the hylek. Hell yeah. Alright, okay, Mr. Charles, singing your marching tune. There you go, just a little bit more of what Sparkfly has to offer. There is still this section of the map here, which just involves more hylek and some sylvari and things like that. But let's get on to the main show now. We're going to go to the Splintered Coast, and we're going to deal with the champion of Zhaitan that patrols there. You'll notice straight away that the waypoint is contested. This means that if you die fighting this fight, you cannot immediately come back. This is quite a smart thing the devs are trying to do here. They're trying to make death a real punishment in the open world where it often isn't, by making you walk a lot. However, these days people have got so much movement, speed, and power creep that it kind of doesn't mean anything anyway. And in truth, back in the day, this just encouraged players to stay dead at the event. And as we all know, events scale based on the number of players that are there, which caused unending frustrations among members of the community with one another. And I think little things like this are why eventually they moved away from ridiculously difficult, challenging events like this in the open world, and instead moved to raiding, as we now see. I'm going to go back to Caer Brier and walk from there. And so, yeah, a little bit more about this event. Just some backstory for you all. When Guild Wars 2 first came out, this boss was in the game, but he was kind of a face roll. You could even solo it, and it was very lacking in rewards, really quite uninteresting. And I think that probably stung the devs to see such beautiful art and ridiculously cool headline features of the game, really, that these dynamic events can spawn and do wild things in the world, that it was just not a very satisfying or interesting aspect of the game. So about a year after Guild Wars 2 came out, when PAX and Gamescom and stuff rolled around for the first time after the games were out, they announced that they were doing a big reboot and a big rebuild of this event. And after that point, it became a formidable challenge and a really big excitement. Back then, the game was split into lots of little mini communities based on the servers that people would play on. And you'd have entire servers trying to beat this and be unable to. Some of my earliest big memories in the game was actually leading some of the first serverless groups to ever take this boss out. Like, no one had recorded overflow maps killing them, but we commanded and did massive events to try and do it, which was really, really, really fun. These days, because players are so much better at the game and because the skills in general are better, it's not a crazy difficult instance, and it's somewhere in the middle ground of its release date and when it was turbocharged, but many of the interesting new and awesome mechanics are still here. So it's kind of a layered event in that it released and was shoddy, then it was completely rebuilt in an update called Tequatl Rising. I'd love to show you the original version and then come back here for Tequatl Rising at the right time in the timeline, but only the newest version of it is obviously here, so that's a bit of a shame. One of the first big changes that came was what you're looking at in front of you here. It used to be win or lose. This beachhead didn't change very much. But now, if you lose to this boss, which it seems people did before, the entire area becomes poisoned, toxic, nasty. Oh, that guy just talked about mosquito as big as him. And these fish heads appear here. Now, these are really scary. Really scary. I kind of want to show... I will show this to you, okay? When we walk towards a fish head, they explode and put us in down state. So I'm really hoping one of these players raises us now or helps us. We have to bandage to heal ourselves up. This is a good way of seeing the engineer down state, by the way, which I don't think we've seen before. Big explosion, a pull, and autos that put weakness and bleed and stuff. And what we got to do is res ourselves and run away because they do respawn. It's a minefield, guys. These mines were dropped from the back of a dragon. Danger at Fabled Janor is the name of the meta. The shores are disturbed by Tequatl's lingering presence. So that's the name of the beast here. It doesn't fly around in the sky like the Shatterer did. It swims deep out looking towards ore. There are no ships that come along with it. It's just out there. Now, it looks like Blightghast looked, but, and many of these other dragons we've started seeing in the skies around Fort Trinity, but it does many different things, lots of unique special animations. Here you find some potential other old Orrian ruins over here, and we'll watch that hill very closely when the dragon actually attacks. So, yes, that's the idea, and the hylek are the ones who have been established the longest fighting against this thing. It's called Tequatl the Sunless. That's actually named by the hylek. The hylek obviously revering Zhaitan, the sun, and this thing blocks the sun out and is of the undead. They call it the Sunless, so that's where it gets its name. And the hylek have set up these turrets on the beach, which I will show you straight away. These are going to be instrumental in the fight, which is much more complicated and interesting than the Shatterer one, for what it's worth. When we get on the turret, you'll see you get 5 super special elixir-oriented skills. Now, because we're an engineer based on alchemy, it doesn't buff them in any way, so you don't have to worry about that. But they're all really important. Try to remember these, because when the event is actually going on, I doubt I'll be able to be on one of these turrets. In fact, did I just get kicked off? No. Okay, so we'll go from the right to the left, okay? So, big cooldown here. Hylek Salve. Dispenses Hylek Salve to buff your allies. So, basically, I throw this. It creates a ring on the ground. Oh, maybe this one doesn't create a ring. When it hits people, it puts some of the strongest buffs in the game on them. Protection for 6 seconds, reduces damage massively, regeneration, and vigor. Super defensive, and you can fire it. Oh, God, we've been kicked off again there. All the way over there. All right, so you can fire this salve all over the beach. In general, players try to group up together so that they can be under the effects of these, you know, all together. So then you've got another one. This is the Hylek Elixir. Also buffs your allies. We can fire this out. Oh, this turret's being really, really strange. This one creates the ring on the ground, which when people stand in, buffs the hell out of them offensively. Fury to up their crit chance, might to give them, you know, increased outgoing damage, and quickness, speeding everything they do up. Not just damaging skills, but even defensive skills. So this one's like super strong, guys. So you just put entire zergs of players with, again, really strong boons. So if you put both on people, you boon the hell out of all of them. Look at this guy on the chair here. Tons of them, all right? So you got that. Those are 2 big facets. Next, we have this thing here, Poison Cleanse. They cleanse something from something called Tequatl's Fingers. We don't know what that is, but bear that in mind. Scale penetration. This is a firing shot that does no damage, but it pierces Tequatl's hardened scales. Well, we don't know what that is. And finally, they can throw stakes at their target at 5,000 range, so you can just shoot the boss with it. So there's not one of these. Okay, you might think, wow, just one turret gives billions of boons. There's 2, 3, there's loads. Oh, no, there's another fish head here. Oh, God, I'm actually really tense here. I don't like this at all, because we're trying desperately not to die. Uh-oh, I just cancel cast my bandage by double tapping it. Please, anybody, res? The thing is, they're not going to care. No, come on, people. I don't know what the respawn is on it. It might respawn while we're still down, and then we're screwed. It will kill us. So, yeah, there's tons of turrets all over the place. Come on, up you get, Bracked. Up you get. There we go. There's tons of them all over.
Nigh invincible.
And one of our jobs, just like you saw at the Shatterer, is we're going to be defending these turrets. You notice that this one is destroyed. Look at that. It's on the ground. Well, there are repair hammers here too, which later we can deal with. There are also NPCs I do want to speak to as we explore here. So we got the Vigil, as you can see. And there's a couple of them over here. This is Quetzalcoatl. How do we say that? Quetzalcoatl? He says, I do not remember a time when these waters were clean and clear, but my tribe's elders do. They talk about it sometimes. The shine of tears always coming to their eyes. It breaks the hylek heart to see. I understand. Goodbye. So, in the lore, this has been dead for a long time, and this is our initiative to take it back. So, you'll notice these panels as well. I'll talk about them in a second.
At least this locale is better than South Sun Cove.
So, talking about that map I actually mentioned earlier in the video, that's South Sun Cove. If I could trouble you for a moment to say that your fly is undone. What? No, it's not. Made you look. Sorry, we're all getting a little punchy out here. Most of us that are still alive, that is. Oh, you silly sylvari. Here's War Master Naru, who is,
Are you battle ready?
I believe newly added when they revamped this. I take it you're here as a part of Operation Screaming Sky. Excellent. I'm War Master Naru, commanding officer. Mark my words, Zhaitan's champion will not outfox us here. What's the operation? Vigil tacticians have noticed that Tequatl has been improving its battle strategies with every emergence. We're here to see if there's any truth to that analysis. I was scared of a head in the kelp there. And if it is true...
I swear I saw a mosquito as large as me.
If it is adapting, we'll face a smarter, deadlier foe every time it emerges. What we determine here will chart the course of future Dragon Lieutenant conflicts. How are you going to take on Tequatl, we ask? Well, we don't know because she's killed herself. Can't even res her. She does respawn and stand back up. Maybe we just stand in for a second and wait. There's 2 more guys over here. But basically, you got the gist of what she says, to be honest. There's no more real interesting dialogue there. It's just that she's explaining that with the Tequatl Rising update, the boss is stronger, and it's important that the Vigil take it out. She also mentioned something about a cannon. And you'll notice here there's an interactable object called the Vigil Mega Laser that we can't see or anything. But the Vigil have been getting Asuran technology to build mega lasers. And this is I guess the first one in the story that we really start interacting with a lot. But the idea of mega lasers start getting adopted and used by Trahearne a lot further to the south as well. As we travel to Fort Trinity, you may even remember seeing some there. So yeah, what we got here? These waters are tainted. It will take a long time before this area is cleansed. It's the Orrian undead, right? The Orrians flowed out of Ore and are pushing north. They have killed many of our tribes. They will kill your tribes too if you let them go to your homelands. You understand, yes? You don't fight for us. You fight for yourselves. Yeah, we're not going. It's no pity. We're fighting for Tyria. Will this struggle never end? I've lost count of how many undead I've put down since leaving the grove. Keep up the good work, Mr. Sylvari man. So, yes, there's lots of Asura tech around here. And you remember that when we went to meet Demolitionist Ton, not too far from here is an Asuran lab. It's just all the smog is obfuscating our vision. So, the Asura have helped set up these, these pads. Now, these were added when the Tequatl Rising update came in and the whole thing was transformed. And they do a very special thing. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, this is the first time we ever saw this in the game. And I'm going to risk it finally and get on one. We stand on the pad. We jump. And we go flying into a field of undead, as it would happen as well. So, yes, we're all the way over here now. And there's a pad that will take us back. And you'll notice we don't die to full damage. What these pads are for is to allow us to move really rapidly across what is, in truth, a massive beachhead. The Splintered coast is enormous here at Fabled Janor, right? And so what these allow us to do is to get across this entire place. And that's because the entire area will be used in this event. It's kind of a beautiful thing they do here with this meta event, in that it's not like we just all stack on a tiny spot and take out this dragon champion. The entire beach will be used, and I think that's beautiful. Very, very, very cool. And the way that the devs sort of allow that to be an accessible part of the game is with these, so that not everyone has to spec mobility. We'll see more of those soon enough. But yeah, okay, and then lastly, I guess, here we got Crusader Taro. Here you go, Naru's back up now. Are you ready? I am. What's next? Excellent. When Tequatl emerges...
This locale is better than South Sun Cove.
I'll need soldiers to protect the cannon's batteries when necessary. Beyond that, you are to dispatch Tequatl using whatever means at your disposal. What else do we have? Infantry, support golems, technicians. The only non-regulation item is the mega laser cannon. It should put a hole in Tequatl, assuming we can properly deploy it. And, yeah, they leave that hanging. So that's about it, guys. Coming over to the base, you'll notice that there's a dynamic event up, and indeed it's a part of the meta. So I guess there is the meta to talk about. You'll remember from the other bonus episode when we did the Shatterer that the meta really didn't mean or do anything. It was just like a thing, and in fact, one of the events as a part of the meta spawns really late. It's an escort that I tried showing you, but we left too soon. It's not very good. Well, unfortunately, it's kind of the same here as well. That idea of having a big boss at the end of lots of smaller events that you have to do well on to make the boss easier, that won't properly be implemented until the first expansion. They kind of failed at it in a lot of ways in the open world. So, this event here, Crate attacking the United Arcanist Lab, where we met Ton, it means nothing. Like, literally nothing. This could succeed, fail. It's irrelevant to the actual fight. There are 3 events that are supposedly a part of this meta. None of them are connected to the boss. None of them are even connected to one another. So you get Crate attacking here. You get a different event where a variety of undead attack in Chokevine Gorge. And remember this small-ass little quaggan village? They send some quaggan reinforcements in an escort. But again, it means nothing. There is, in truth, 1 extra line of dialogue you get if this escort finishes while the fight is going. But the extra dialogue you get is nondescript and doesn't even mention the fight itself. So there's nothing really, guys. It's just, I guess, something to do while you're standing around waiting. And maybe if you want to get this heart, but the main boss isn't due to spawn for a really long time. So, yeah, once these crates are done in 40 seconds, you'll see the meta flips back and it just says that we're kind of waiting in silence.
How are your endeavors progressing?
Over here, we do get to see some of the architects of this technology. I wash my hands of it. I told them not to build a base in the middle of nowhere. I predicted that would only attract the inquests and make the defense nearly impossible. Too bad they didn't listen. Bye. This person here is the most interesting, I think, Vork, who's talking about the mega laser as far as I can discern. At 75%, the cannon was stable enough to fire without combusting. You must excuse me, I have calculations to make. Okay?
My crew is on the verge of a breakthrough.
And she says, listen, our technology is plenty powerful to bring down the dragon's lieutenants. Can you imagine what we could do if we developed this technology further? What are you waiting for? Well, I think that's the story of what we see they start doing under Traherne's tutelage and Fort Trinity and beyond. So, yeah, there you go. The shores are disturbed by Tequatl's lingering presence. But for now, it's time to play the waiting game. This is going to be it, guys. A big boss with a ton to talk about. I'll be back in a moment when I've gathered a ton of you guys, the watchers, to help me take it out. It should be fun. All right, we're back. Okay, so we have prepared, we have set up, we have many of our finest warriors around. You'll notice here, this time I actually have a green tag above my head. This is because I am the leader of this squad, which I've currently got collapsed so that it's not horrible on our eyes. All these different people here ready to fight the dragon as it comes out very soon. We're maybe just 5 minutes away. What we're going to be watching for, the prompt this time is for the meta event to change and say there's something in the waters. But as you'll notice, just before the event spawns, all the fish heads in the area mysteriously vanish. They seep back down, allowing players to wander around and actually prepare for whatever it is that may be coming. So yes, we've got people set up on all of the different turrets. And I guess I'll note at this point, this event is actually really scary to me. This is way more dangerous than the Shatter event was by quite a wide margin. And of course, I'm trying not to die. So what you'll find I do, and it will be very clear why things are dangerous, is probably I'm going to be on the mortar kit. And I'm going to hide and cry miles away from the group using the mortar. So this is not like optimal. At 1500 range, it means I can hit things way out of range that most of the damage would be. It's not optimal because, as we already established, these turrets that people are going to be firing from back here will be splashing boons, and they're not going to fire at me as an individual. They're going to fire on the whole group of players who will be further forwards. So I won't get all of that tasty damage buffs that everyone else will, and I'll do a comparatively tiny bit of damage. But it's kind of what I'm going to have to do to try and survive here. Obviously, standing with my friends, they can also resurrect and they can try and support one another. But, yeah, I still feel like I'll be safer sort of on my own, standing back a little bit. So normally what you find as well is that all the players kind of stand like out here near where they expect the dragon to be all together. But we are going to be sort of casually sort of a little bit more spread out across the beach here as he actually spawns in. So, yeah, there's going to be a ton to talk about, lots to get through. Should only be a couple of minutes now. Let's see what we got. I guess another thing before the event spawns is I did a big talk about feasts recently. This is the kind of event where you'd find lots of people from all across the game end up gathering together, and this is where they would say drop a feast and you might actually get some benefit from it, and it might be somewhat useful. I would love to see a feast, for example, on the floor right now that has food that makes me a little bit tankier. It gives me more vitality and thus health, or toughness and thus armor value. That would be very, very cool. But it doesn't look like we've got anything more than just these banners down that this guild has dropped. Unaffiliated with me, actually, here. This guy as well, by the way, has a mini version of Tequatl the Sunless, which is a rare drop you can get from this event. Again, added with the Tequatl Rising updates. For now, though, it's seeming just quite calm and eerie in the surface.
Enemy inbound. This is not a drill. Charge up the power cell. Tequatl's approaching. Dig in and stand firm. Remember, we're Vigil. Target approaching. Get to your battle stations.
Health increasing!
Look, in the water. Brothers, sisters, ready yourselves. Tequatl is here.
Back to the turrets, now.
And there we go. This is tech. As you can hear the quaggans saying there's something in the water there. And out the dragon comes. Oh my god, he's much closer than we were, and everybody starts charging in.
Shockwave coming. Get out of the way.
Watch for the tingling vines coming out of the ground.
On the right, undead. Cut them down.
Coming. Get out of the way.
Oh god. Okay. So, the first big mechanic you saw I got hit with straight away. Tequatl can slam the ground on the beach. My god, look at this. Tequatl can slam the ground at the beach. And what he does is he creates these big tidal waves that come rushing towards us. The only way to get around the tidal waves, you'll see it in a second, is to jump. You have to clear them, or you can try and outrange them. But to try and outrange them means going too far away. Here's a Fear Roar, which I'm going to stun break with Elixir U. I'm going to keep firing mortar shots way over there at his foot, where the rest of the group is. And so here we'll watch very closely. He slams the ground, creates a tidal wave, and I have to jump over it like that. If you mistime the jump, you're screwed. Luckily, jumping in the game obviously isn't tied to endurance or any regular mechanics, so you don't actually have to stop fighting or spend anything there as long as your jumping is good enough. Like, I can keep jumping like this while firing the mortar and I'm fine. But you got to get the timing right. So that's mechanic number one that can be really dangerous. A couple of tidal waves and you're down and out. So, mechanic two is he sometimes slams his hands in the ground and creates these things. Tequatl's fingers. Oh, there's another tidal wave, and we just outranged it there. Now, the fingers, what they do is splash horrible poison fields. You see these big orange fields here? They splash ridiculous poison around that when you're standing in will do crazy damage. The only way to counter that is to try and create reflects where the fingers are, kill the fingers, as you can see there. So, for example, I'm in one. A finger just attacked me. Or, remember our friends on the turrets at the back? Those guys here, we can splash some heal fields around near ourselves. And a tidal wave as well. Careful. The guys on the turrets can clear the miasmic locations by firing the turrets at them. So that's another way in which our friends can help. You can see Tequatl's been taking a lot of damage here. Here's another mechanic. Oh god, okay, I'm trying to command some people here. You can see that Tequatl has got this thing stacking on him. Hardened scales. When that hits 20, as you just saw happen here, a bone wall comes up. So this defends Tequatl, makes him invulnerable, and the only way to get back at damaging him is to break the wall instead. Now, that's a scary thing when there's tidal waves that you're getting splashed and crushed between, and fears causing you to run into the wall, and these poison fields all over the place. Also, the bone wall means that if you are, like, trying to fight him, a Malayan, and the wall comes up, you can't get assistance from your turret friends at the back. So very scary, and generally speaking, the guys on the turrets need to keep using that skill to keep the hardened scales off. The only way that you can keep the hardened scales off is not with just one turret. You need lots of turrets alive all the time. And that's why in this event, it's really important to do some defense for your friends. So here, for example, I'm blasting and healing this guy on the turret. I need to defend him from, look at this, champion risen. Bad, dangerous stuff. I can drop stealth on him so that it breaks aggro. I need to do that. I need to break this thing's break part and get it away, so that they can continue firing. So now Tequatl just got to 75% health, and you missed it. He's all the way up there now. He just flew overhead. He came off the beach. Maybe it was visible there for a second. And he's ran away. So now we're in the next phase. This is the Mega Laser. So you'll notice that the Asura have set it up properly. Here it is in the middle of the field. It's going to be charging up right now, and it draws energy from multiple batteries in the area. That's where the jump pads come in. So, first, Zhaitan sends a ton of creatures to the laser itself, and you've got to try and defend that. Then also, you need to spread out across vast distances to each separate laser here to make sure none of them get broken. On the right, you can see the top right, there's multiple health bars. You need all of those to stay alive for this phase, which is a period of about 3 minutes, I think. We've currently still got over a minute left. Each battery, for the laser has different stuff that's going on. Zhaitan and Tequatl are sending different forces to, and there's different special mechanics to deal with. So at this one, I don't really fully remember. I think maybe it's just fingers are coming up and you got to clear them out. At some other ones, you got to stomp things. I'm actually going to go to each of the lasers to show you guys all of them. So there we got knocked out really dangerously. I'm going to hold back here and just keep hazing down, dropping fields for people. When you've defended for long enough, which this is pretty good, you can decide to return. Our battery's at loads of health, so I'm going to come back now. Because as soon as this laser fires at Tech, we'll see it triggers it knocks him onto the ground and makes him vulnerable. And we want to take advantage of that period where he's vulnerable for as long as possible and do as much damage as we can. Hopefully, doing so much damage, we go back to back, laser into another laser, into another laser, into another laser, and hopefully then even from there win the whole event. It's very bad if this fails, by the way, which maybe we'll hopefully see if we can see. So, there you go. The Vigil Mega Laser is charged. Get back into the fray. The laser's back there. You can see it fires blindly into the sky. They call about bringing him down, and he gets shot out of the sky and returns to the battlefield. He's also wounded and, out of breath here. So we get free damage here. He can't create any fingers. He can't, create any tidal waves. We're free to do whatever we like for a good long while here. He takes massively increased damage during this phase. He, like Blightcast as well, you can hit at just the right place between his hands and his head and get multiple packets of damage at once, which is really kind of cool. You want to be careful, though, because if you don't get enough damage to make him run away again, he can start hitting you. There you saw he created a tidal wave, which we jumped. So, we did very well there. Let's see if we can see what happens if a battery dies. So, this is really scary. If you fail to keep the battery or the laser up, what can happen is an instant defeat. Tequatl is flying around in the sky, and you might wonder, what's he doing right now? Well, he's charging up for a big attack. And if we don't shoot him with a laser, he'll get that big attack off. I'm going to try and show that to you, but the only way for us to show that to you is to let the batteries die, and players might not know to do that. So we will see. Everyone currently playing with us understands what we're trying to do, but there'll be other random people on the map who don't, and they might just finish the events all on their own. So I'm not going to fight this time, and we're going to see if we can get a battery blown up and killed. It's kind of tricky, though, because as I mentioned, the game's power creep at this point has led to such that even solo players can do pretty well defending batteries. Everyone has to be on board to let it break. The eastern one's getting quite low, and that's where we are here. So the mechanic here, by the way, is I think some giant A-bombs can come out. You see this here? And this is like a supercharged giant version of those explodey guys we've seen in the rest of the series. And they're really dangerous. If you get them blown up on the batteries, it can be pretty good. But the thing is, you see everybody's killing them. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to show that. Maybe I can edit in some footage of what happens when a battery fails. But again, it's just one of those sad things. God, there's a lot of Risen around right now. That unfortunately in the game of these days, it's very, very, very rare to ever see. So yeah, it looks like we're going to succeed, unfortunately. It's kind of alright because that mechanic, if you fail the batteries, is instant death. 100 to 0, not just downstate, defeated. So we'd have to run really far away. But essentially what Tech does is he gets to charge his big attack. Here he is, here. He would come through and instead of getting interrupted with the laser, like so, he would slam the ground way out there and create a giant wave that instantly kills everyone. A big tidal wave. I mean, that's really pretty cool, right?
75%. This whole thing is about to implode.
You're the northern battery. Hurry!
Infuriating!
I mean, that's really pretty cool, right? So, yeah, we managed to charge the laser again, and now we get to do all the big damage. You can see here how the fight is quite different to when it was originally rebuilt. When, once upon a time, this burn phase just gave you a bit of extra damage. The laser did some damage, and then you got some extra pressure. But then he'd start fighting like normal again, and it would be a race to get to the next phase of the batteries. But these days, people are so powerful, you just do it back to back to back. And really, as soon as you've proved you can get that straight away, it's kind of over, right? Because the first phase is the actual fighting, and now it's just, oh, Tech gets beaten up by us, then we defend batteries, then Tech gets beaten up by us, and we defend batteries, and you can't really do anything else. So yeah, that's all the batteries I think I've shown now, right? The last one, of course, is here at the middle. You've got the Mega Laser itself, where some of the biggest, most dangerous creatures spawn. And you want to be careful about these. Here you got a champion crate Hypnos over there, and we want to watch out for that. There is another mechanic at play, by the way. If we weren't doing the back-to-back burns, eventually during the fight, Tech unlocks a new ability. And what that new ability is he creates holes out in the water that we can get sucked and dragged into.
Watch out for the whirlpool! Evade it, or you'll get pulled under!
And you can be pulled into the murky, undead, miasmic depths beneath, way out there. There's actually special achievements to go out there and see stuff, but the idea is you're taking massive damage while you're underwater, and you've got to swim back to the surface as fast as possible. With Risen all around you. Here you go, there's Tech still flying around. With Risen all around you, like trying to drag you deeper down. It's fantastic. Very, very, very cool. And if you can swim to the top, you get back into the fight. So imagine that. Imagine the struggle of bone walls coming up. The struggle of poison clouds all around, while several of your players start getting plucked down into the depth and everybody's getting split up. That is Tech, right? That's Tequatl the Sunless in his true, like, super dangerous form, and you don't get to see it much. Speaking of the underwater place, though, once the fight is over, I will still be able to show you it through a little mechanic that the devs added. So, yeah. Just waiting here for the batteries to finish being defended. We can come out. Another cool thing that used to happen in the early runs, back when it was really challenging, is those fingers that came out were really tanky, and players would run off to defend the batteries, but you not only did you have to assign people to here, 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 and here to defend all the batteries and the cannon itself, you also had to assign people to stay back here to clear the fingers out, because if you didn't kill the fingers, they would nuke the Zerg while the Zerg was trying to nuke Tech. So you just had all these different fronts you had to fight on. You needed the turrets to stay up during the phase, so you had to have people defend there. You had to have people assigned to the turrets. You had to have people assigned to the fingers, assigned to each of the batteries. Make sure you don't overzerg one battery more than the others. And then finally you could take out Tech, all within the time limit.
Heat sink reaching full capacity.
Beautiful. But there you go. That is what Tech is like as of the game now. And down he goes, cast back into the depths. As with the Shatterer, Tequatl the Sunless is really just a title for many Elder Dragon champions of Zhaitan that came out here. Though the story's a little non-specific as to whether we truly kill him eventually. I'll talk about that subject much later. But yeah, so there you have it. Our rewards, of course, are numerous. We get lots of boxes for each of the battery phases we've done. These dragon chests, opening them gives you lots of karma and nice things. Also, you get the big golden chest over here, the dragon chest, which can have really rare stuff come out of it. So here I got Tequatl's Eye, a Fang of Tequatl, an exotic level 80 gear before we even hit level 80, a rare trident, lots of blues, greens. We get a gold straight up. You actually get 2 gold across the entire event. Loads and loads of stuff. You can get guild rewards here that allows the guild to build various decorations. And yeah, you even get this bone fragment of him that comes down. I thought you could interact with this, but maybe not. There's also another special thing that allows you to go underwater again. Is this the portal over here? Oh, here you go. Here, underwater here. So there's this sneaky little portal. If we press F, it says a mysterious portal swells in front of you. This only becomes available once you defeat Tequatl. Are you sure? It may be dangerous. And this takes you to the area that you would have got dragged down by that mechanic. There's a hidden chest down here for an achievement to grab, so you can do that after the event is over. There's an achievement to avoid getting hit by his tail swipe and all kinds of different things, but it's very dangerous down here and really, really kind of tricky actually to get that chest. You got to swim down really quickly, press F on it, and then swim up and go to these little pockets of light, and that basically is happening during the fight, guys, if you can't successfully get the burns back to back. And I think right before the first battery phase, I think he starts doing that that mechanic as well. So yeah, really, really, really cool event. It's been awesome playing with you guys. Another fantastic part of open world, which isn't technically a part of the main story, but nonetheless is a really fascinating aspect of Guild Wars 2 players might otherwise miss, and I felt deserved a part of the series. So there will be more bonuses upcoming. The game becomes increasingly geared around large events with lots of players as we go further forward. And remember, if you guys want to join in on this, all you got to do is keep an eye on the streams, the Discord, all the links that are under all the videos. Thanks very much for watching, guys. It's been great. I'll see you next time.
That's how I do it.